I feel like I was getting into a straitjacket, or she was putting me in a straitjacket, and I was helping her buckle it up, right?
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
helping her to put me in that straitjacket, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, there was only myself to blame.
The Venus Flytrap is a story about one man's uh, journey, descent. I don't know if you're gonna like that.
That's a good word.
Spiral
Yeah.
into obsessive, chaotic love. And that is what we are here to speak to Stephen Paul Edwards about today. Welcome to the podcast network, Stephen.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Janice. It's
Mhm.
already been an adventure, and I think it's going to continue to be a great adventure.
I'm going to read a little from his bio. You guys, listen to this. It is a fearless, funny, and brutally honest exploration of the messy beauty of love, lust, heartbreak, and healing. This true story doesn't shy away from the madness. I can definitely say I can attest to that. I've read the entire thing, everyone. I do my due diligence when I have
You
someone on the
sure do.
show.
You sure do.
This true story doesn't shy away from madness, it embraces it. With biting wit and profound vulnerability, Stephen challenges the fears and social masks that keep us small, encouraging readers to shed their shame, accept their flaws, and revel in the glorious chaos of being human. And chaos, I think, is a word that I will continue to come back to because that really in is the feel of the book and the relationship. Like there really wasn't very much calm even before the next storm in your relationship with Tomas. It's not like you all started making house and things got, calm and then there would be these chaotic things. It was just kind of one drama to the next. His journey is a raw reminder that while love can be a battlefield, the greatest act of courage is often learning to love yourself enough to walk away or to love with reckless abandon. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
It's a pleasure to be here.
What I will say first, something that you say on your website and in the book is in the intro to the book is that you didn't necessarily want to write this. You felt like you had to. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. Um, well, it first started out that I started to take a time out in life, which I'd never really
Mm,
done before. I'd spent my entire life running away, right, from myself.
mm,
I thought I was running when I was a kid. I thought I was running away from home, but I
yeah.
realized I was running away from myself because I wasn't ready to look at myself and my life, right? And as a result of that, I lived in fear of people finding out who I really am because they might not love me anymore. I didn't know this consciously. I wasn't walking around thinking, well, I better not tell people that because they won't love me. But that was really where it was at and deep down.
Hmm.
So, number one, I wanted to write the book for myself
Hmm.
so that I could have a chance to reflect on my life and what had happened. And then the other thing was I realized as I was writing, I went, wow, people could really get a lot out of this, right?
Uh-huh.
Uh, for, from an entertainment perspective, number one, and number two, to give people a chance to self-reflect too. And I get people tell me all the time, wow, when that happened, I saw me, I've been through something similar. And it's just good to know that I'm not alone,
Hmm.
right? Other people have these experiences, and I didn't know because I didn't tell anybody, right?
Yeah.
Or if I told people, they would judge me, right? And tell me how stupid I was, and I tried to tell you, so on and
Yeah.
so forth.
Hmm.
When
Yep.
they don't necessarily realize that these things that we go through sometimes are just things we need to go through
Hmm.
to help us become more aware of where our, if you want to call them flaws, or where our weaknesses are, and give us a chance to heal them, right?
Hmm. Yes, yeah, thank you. I've been in a very similar situation. A lot of my listeners will already know that I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and I was in a very intense and chaotic relationship with an abusive alcoholic for a time in my life. And I don't know if that's how you categorize your relationship, but a lot of the things that happened in the book were things that I had experienced, having lived with an alcoholic, but also being love bombed by an alcoholic and kind of having the wool taken over my eyes and just realizing really quickly that I was in over my head, wanting desperately to make it work. I was with a man who was um, horribly intelligent, painfully good looking, very, very exciting, wanting to show me the world, somebody who could charm, anyone in a room. And before I knew it, yeah, I had kind of lost my identity and was, yeah, kind of going from one fire to the next. So I related to a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I have to say, um, in your reading the book, I related also because some of the stories you told were so over the top. Like it would be hard to believe that some of what she put you through or some of what you experienced was actually real. And there was a couple times that I felt emotional reading it because I remember thinking at the time and now looking back that I don't want to tell people about what happened because it's so out there. Like
Yeah.
you would not believe some of the things that this man did. And in your case, I was like, this is so next level that it made me feel like kind of a kinship with you because you're telling, I completely believe that these things happen to you because similar things happened to me. But there's always, since it happened, been this thing in the back of my mind, like people aren't going to believe you.
Yeah. No, they don't. They still don't, even though I say, yeah, it's true. And I actually say at the beginning of the book, I say, listen, you are going to say that can't possibly be true.
Hmm.
There's no way that happened. And nobody could be that crazy. Well, it did. It is, and we were,
I
right?
believe you.
So I kind of set that up, and it's hard to believe. It really is. And even though, when you think back about your story, what you happened, you go, no one will believe this.
Yeah.
No one's going to believe this, right?
Hmm.
So, and there will be people who will never believe it. But I think a lot of people know, well, there's some things I write about myself, you go, well, no one's going to tell people that unless it's true, right?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Like none of this shines well on me, you
Exactly,
know.
right? I mean,
Mm.
so people are going, he's an idiot, right? What's he thinking?
I didn't think that.
No, I because you could relate, right?
Mm.
And that's what's great about the book. You know, it's not for everybody, right? But there's a lot of people when they read it, they go, "Ah, I can so relate to that." That makes them feel connected.
Uh-huh.
And that's what's
Mm.
missing for us when sometimes we go through some of these things. We feel disconnected. We feel like we're the only one that would do this. Nobody else would do that.
Mm.
People are going to think I'm crazy. And when people do find out, a lot of times people will, thinking they're helping you, will put ultimatums out there. Well, it's up to you now. If you go back there, don't talk to me about it again, right?
Yeah, my parents, yeah, they said like the door is closed to you if this happens again. And then the last time, they said you can come back, but only if you press charges against him finally. Stephen, can you say in a nutshell what the Venus flytrap is about?
Yeah.
And then why you chose that as your title?
Just coming out of my fourth marriage. And
Yeah, I liked how honest you were about that as well.
yeah, right. So I was coming out of my fourth marriage. I was burned out on my business and career, speaking, traveling all over the world. I was tired. And also in grief, right? I was grieving my divorce. You probably think four marriages, were you just getting married to get divorced? But no, I never got married to get divorced. I was,
No, and I'm sorry, shame on anyone who says that it's the easy way out or that you get used to it or something.
no,
Divorce is extraordinarily painful, no matter how many times you've gone through it. So,
yeah, it is. And every time it's different. Anyway, so so I was kind of in the doldrums, as it were. And so my friend Jerry, who you know from the book, was saying, and a couple of other people saying, you got to get out. You got to get out. You got to move on with your life. And they said, why don't you date? Which is probably not a good idea. But anyway,
It
I'm like, date?
depends.
I'm traveling all over the world. How am I going to? I'm gone 4 days a week. How am I going to? Anyway, so I decided to go on a website. Actually, I didn't decide to go on a website. I don't know if you've ever seen this show, Patty Stanger, Millionaire Match. It's a comedy thing, but she matches millionaires with women, right?
I've watched Millionaire Match.
That's it. Yeah, Millionaire Match.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to contact her. I'm looking for her on the internet, and I came across this.
Oh,
I came
baller over here. He's like, I'm going straight to the top. You know
right.
what you're worth, also. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. This is maybe not germane to the conversation, but you were aware of your quality as a man. I appreciated that.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I go on this website and I find her, right? Um, and it was very obvious she was from money, right? She's riding equestrian horses. She's living in Brazil. She's
Right.
living in Paris, Miami, LA. And just the way she carried herself from her photographs, you could tell. So at one point, there's a picture of her standing in front of a huge wall of antique typewriters. Now she's
Okay.
5'11" in her bare feet, and she's never in her bare feet. She always wear heels, right? So
Right. Yep.
5, 6 inch
That
heels,
was a
right? So
theme is yeah, her love
always,
of
right?
heels and um maybe even symbolically, placing herself artificially above people.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. But she's reaching up on this wall and pretending to type on a typewriter that's really high, right?
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of cute. Anyway, so I started sending her text messages from this. Eventually, I was freaking scared shitless, right? I was like, she's never going to be interested in me. She's going to reject me, which nobody likes to be rejected. But I thought, what the hell? I got nothing to lose, right? She can't even see me. So I start sending her messages, right? Not very brave. So anyway, and she kept knocking me back. And then finally,
Mhm.
I said something really pathetic and weak. And I said, listen, let's just go for a coffee. And the worst thing that can happen is you're going to end up with a friend. I mean, it couldn't be any lamer than that, right? I mean, God help me. So
That
anyway,
is a little,
that's a
yeah,
little
maybe
lame.
anyone who's listening who's on a dating app
Never say that.
it could be bold. Yeah. No, it's fine.
Exactly, right?
You
So
probably
anyway,
felt like that was the safe thing to say, it sounds
there
like.
you go. There
Okay.
you go. She can't really reject me, right? So anyway, but she did. Anyway, so one day I get her to go say she's going to go for a coffee. I'm like, yes. Second day, she cancels. No, right? So this is going on. So anyway, finally, I just say one last try. So I send her a text and I said, listen, I'm looking for an assistant. I need a high-handed typist. Do you
Oh,
know anybody?
oh God.
And she came back and she said, me, right? I said, you're a
Mhm.
little bit overeager, aren't you? So when I said, why don't we do an interview over dinner? So she thought that was cool. So we go for this dinner. And I'm trying to make sure I get this tied down. I don't get a cancellation on this again, right? So I texted her. We're having a conversation. And I said, what's your favorite flower?
Love it. I'm
So
a
she
flower
knew.
girl, as you
Yeah,
might.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So I'm thinking she knows I'm going to buy her some flowers now. You can't cancel if someone's going to buy you some flowers. I'm thinking, right? Just another little tie down. So she texted back and she said, bird of paradise.
Mhm.
I said, nah, mine too. But then I said, it's a bit expensive though. What's your second favorite? So, so I kid you not, Janet. She came back like 3, 4 seconds. Venus Flytrap.
Mhm. Mhm.
She named herself.
Yeah.
So this was one of the dichotomies in the book. She was this beautiful bird of paradise, but inside she was the Venus flytrap.
Mhm.
And I knew from that instant, intuitively, she was the flytrap and I was the fly.
You saw the writing on the wall early on, which made me sad for you and also for myself because some of these, these personalities, it's not like you fall in love and then months later she revealed some of this to you.
Right,
I mean,
right.
there was some of the chaos started. I mean, I think within 2 weeks of you guys dating.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. The signs were already there, and I saw them. But at the beginning of the book, in the prologue, I actually say, have you ever gone to the fridge or the freezer in the middle of the night, picked up a tub of ice cream,
Yeah.
knowing that it's going to be bad for you, but you went and sat in the living room, watched a movie, and you enjoyed every last scoop? And I go, I certainly hope so, right? And
Hmm.
so that was in this situation, it was me going to the proverbial fridge,
Uh-huh.
taking out a bucket of ice cream, knowing it was going to hurt me, knowing it wasn't going to be good for me, but enjoying every last spoonful.
So, what do you see as the obsessive part of this? What do you think that even means? Is it the same as addiction? Is that how you categorize your relationship with Tomas?
Well, that's a great question. Things evolve, right? So
Yeah.
initially, I wasn't in love with her. I didn't even know her, right? How could I love her? I didn't know her, right? But I
Also,
was,
she doesn't. And this is actually something I wanted to talk to you about, and in my situation as well. I didn't feel do things to like endear herself to you. Like, as far as falling in love goes, there wasn't the softness, there wasn't really even romance necessarily. And so, how you feel like you fell in love, I wasn't really sure that I saw that side of it necessarily, even though I could relate to just being like, oh, I just am, even though they haven't really proved like earned it necessarily.
okay. So initially, I wasn't in love, right?
Uh-huh.
Initially, I was in lust, right?
Yes,
Uh,
that was clear.
yeah, right.
Mhm.
So, but also, she hooked me um, because in my mind,
Mhm.
she needed saving.
Yeah.
She needed to be
Mhm.
saved, and I was going to need to fix her, right? Never a good idea. Definitely a major
You
red flag.
can't. You
But that's
can't.
a flaw in me. That was a flaw
Yeah.
in me that I wasn't
Mhm.
even aware of, right?
Yeah.
Because as a guy, you think it's a good thing to save the damsel in distress,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And rescue them and then help them rebuild their esteem and become an empowered woman. There's nothing wrong with that, but but it can also be very destructive to
Yeah.
yourself. And you get
Mhm.
lost in that, which is what happened to me. But over time, I did fall in love with her,
Okay.
right? I did fall in love with her, but not
Totally
right away.
valid. Mhm.
And she wasn't in love with me either, right? Her, as you know, her MO was to destroy me, right? To devour me because of her relationship with her father and her,
Mhm.
being so attractive and men being around all the time and her believing that if your father can't love you, how can another guy love you, right?
Yeah.
So she was angry at men. And
Mhm.
not making it right, but understandably so. You can rationalize that and see why. So and she's from money. She hates money because her father was a billionaire, loved money more than her in her mind, right?
Mhm.
So she was going to take men for as much money as she could, live off their money, and
Unabashedly so as well. Like
unabashedly
she.
so. Part of it was because I was obsessed with her, right? I was in lust with her. Uh, and then it was a game. We were playing a game.
Mhm.
As a fly, am I going to get away or is she going to devour me?
Mhm.
That's what kept the tension and kept us coming back. You know,
What
she eventually,
though?
eventually, rather than wanting to destroy and take everything from me, she wanted to marry me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I got to the end of the book. She's even talking about having kids and stuff, which I was like,
I know,
well,
right?
I
Can
mean,
you
he's at
imagine?
least gonna draw the line with procreating with this.
Somewhere, he's gonna draw the line. And I
Yeah.
knew, I knew, Janice, that if I married her,
Mhm.
game over. There
Yeah.
was nothing left between us to hold us together. There was no tension. There was no excitement. There was no adventure.
Mhm.
It would just go away. So
Mhm.
I knew, fortunately, there was absolutely no way I could ever marry her, right?
Mhm.
And I also
Mhm.
knew, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this much towards the end of the book, I knew it couldn't last forever.
There's no way. I mean, this type of chaos, it's not sustainable.
No,
Mhm.
not sustainable. So I'm thinking
Mhm.
I'm going to take this journey, this roller coaster ride for as long as it can, and then I know at some point we're going to have to let go.
That's a
Which,
little how I was in my situation as well. I didn't think, 10 years from now we're still going to be together. I
yeah,
also thought in my mind, I've never woken up in the morning and with someone with first class tickets saying we're going from New York to Vegas just for the
freaking
weekend.
amazing,
I
right? It's
I thought that
amazing.
even in the moment, and he was the his disease was very, very, very apparent. But I did remember thinking, I haven't had this type of experience before, like kind of ride it for
Yeah.
for right now. One thing I wanted to ask was and what you just definitely indicated was, like you were the fly in her trap. What made you think or feel that you didn't have the upper hand? Because maybe that's a poor way to look at relationships. But when it's this type of dysfunction and someone's kind of taking you for all your worth, which it did kind of seem like she did to you, um, it didn't seem like, as far as like a power dynamic goes, that really you needed to give her all of that because you have so much going for you as a professional, as a man. And what do you think is the pivot point when you're getting to know someone like Tomas where you end up giving your power away?
Yeah, great question. So, uh, this is going to sound weird,
Not to me.
but I saw her vulnerability
Yeah.
and I saw that what she was doing wasn't making her happy. And the
Mm-hmm.
belief in the back of my mind was, I know I can make her happy. What she had explains all this behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So, and initially, I was given a book, coincidentally, if there is such a thing, about this disease. And as I'm reading it, because I'm into psychology anyway, so I just started reading this book about another part of psychology I wasn't aware of. And she was right there on the pages.
And it,
And
it made you have maybe more compassion than you
that's exactly what I
needed
said.
to.
You'd
Yeah.
have to be through this to know that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's extraordinary. Yeah, I had more compassion for her because I knew where it was coming from, right? And as I'm reading the book, it says that it's treatable. And what do you think I made that? What do you think I made up in my mind?
Mm-hmm.
That it's curable,
Yeah.
and it
Mm-hmm.
isn't. And the only way you can actually live with it is through therapy.
Like being very, very, very intentional about your treatment. I can relate. My ex had a family member take his life while we were together and use that as the excuse for why he was drinking so much. And it definitely pulled on my heartstrings and yeah, made me want to support him more.
The other thing was that because of this disease, she couldn't handle reality.
Hmm.
She just, I mean, drugs, sex, um, alcohol were her only way
Yeah, she
to
was
feel.
definitely an escapist, which did make me feel for her because you could see very clearly why her motivation for engaging in certain acts, even sexually, that it was an escape for her.
The other experience that helped her was pain.
Mhm.
So she craved pain. I just couldn't give her that, right? Because that's just, I can't, I couldn't, right?
Yeah, you spoke in the book about, sexually, she's always trying to take things to the next level, and that wasn't necessarily something that you d had any desire for.
Sounds crazy because of, what I've written, but I'm very private, right? I mean, no one
The book
ever,
is sexy, you guys.
the whole book is sexy, right?
Very
And I like
explicit.
sex and I like all that stuff, and that's great, but no one would have ever known that about me, right? Ever discussed any of that, and even with my friends, right? So people go, "You put it in a book." I go, "I know that was courageous of me because people are going to know that." So listen to this. My father's reading the book right now.
Oh dear.
So he gave it to his girlfriend, and she said,
Yowzer.
She says, that's pornographic. He told me she said that. And I went, well, I told you
I
before
mean,
you read it.
yeah.
And I did. I told him, I said, there's stuff about you in there. There's very, I didn't say pornographic, but I said there's some very explicit sex in there. And he goes, yeah, it's fine. Right. It's fine. He had no idea what he was getting himself into. But anyway, yeah. And so to bring that out and talk about that, I'm like, I can't hide that. That was in the
Mhm.
relationship. That was a part of what we went through, right? Um, and actually, as crazy as it sounds, and you're right, it was very objective, right? It wasn't until later in the story, which you read about at the end, that we started to really have an emotional connection.
This is very close to the end of the book. Um, can I read to you?
Of course.
Tamaz felt she needed to be somebody other than herself. She had no authentic self identity. Instead, she tried to be the person she thought others wanted her to be. She could only maintain the facade for so long. She left before anyone could discover the real Tomaz. She would either create an argument or simply disappear. It all made her feel alone and abandoned, which meant that no matter what she did, she is always living her worst self destructing self. Yes, there was a reason for all of it, and yes, I'll explain later. It was heartbreaking to watch. This played right into my protective instincts, making me to rescue and save her.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tragic. It's
Yeah.
sad. So there's
Hmm.
parts of the book that make you laugh. There's parts of the book that shock you, and there's parts of the book that you want to cry
Hmm.
because it's
Hmm.
tragic.
What would you say to someone who finds themselves in the initial stage of this? I think, a lot of women could relate to the love bombing that I went through. I think a lot of men could relate to you being so captivated by someone who you thought maybe was just out of your league. So what would you say to someone who feels intoxicated by someone, but then quickly, early on, sees some of these things? I personally, yes, I have gained things and there was learning lessons for me as, coming out of a domestic abuse situation. And I personally would have rather, like today, if that happened, see the signs and walked away myself. So, but what about you? What would you say to someone who, I mean, I don't know about you, but in some of the early situations that you had with her, um, I did the same thing where something like so over the top happens, and it's almost like I saw tunnel vision and just thought to myself like, oh my god, like what have I gotten myself into? And I kind of wish in those moments I would have been able to think objectively about it. He had also moved into my house. I have to say, like, the way that they invade your space is very insidious.
Mhm.
But yeah, what would you say to someone who kind of finds themselves getting involved in this type of thing?
Yeah. Not only do they invade your space, they want to isolate you, right?
Oh,
So they do things
completely.
with your friends or your family to get you separated from them so they can devour you, right? Because they want you to be totally reliant on them and them alone. So now they are in complete control of you, and then they can control your mind. That's pattern of a parasite, right? So um, I'm intrigued because it's easier when it's all over to say what you would prefer you would have done. So my question
Mm,
for you is this,
yeah.
right? If you could go back and not do it, would you? Or do you feel more whole, more healed having gone through it?
I guess I don't have a definitive answer
Yeah, I
for
think that's
you.
a fair thing to say. I don't either,
My
really. I don't either, really.
situation was violent and
Yeah.
terrifying. And yeah, at the same time, it's added a depth to my life and my life history that, few people I know have.
Mhm.
There was a lot of scary moments though, and also a lot of self-abandonment.
Mhm.
And so I guess I would need to think long and hard. I'm gonna lean on the side of no, just because it's a very dark time in my life, and I feel like, yeah, I kind of betrayed myself staying involved in it at all. That's just me.
Answer. That's just an
Yep.
honest answer, right? That's
Mm-hmm. Yep.
yeah. So I would ask myself that question as we were going through. Is it worth it
Yeah.
for me? And she was never physically well. She was, but not to any degree, right? She cracked me over the head with a phone. But anyway, and it wasn't that I got hit, it got hit, or there was bloody, or whatever. It was just, and you can probably relate to this. It's just um, the disrespect, the violate. It's violation, right? It's a violation of your own space, of your own um, being, right? It's a violation.
It's
And so
almost like
that's
she
what
was
hurt.
looking at you, but not into you. Hmm.
Well, but this is in the second book, right? So at that point, she was just so angry because obviously she was carrying a lot of anger. And she was
Yeah.
angry because I, in her mind, was making her feel that I was going to abandon her, which I wasn't. I was just explaining something. So she had paranoia and she thought I was with other women all the time. She thought every single
Yeah.
day.
Ironic considering some of the ways she carried on.
Exactly, right? So
No,
she
really, the
projected. she-
hypocrisy. I also related to that as well. Like someone so
Yeah.
far removed from reality of human relationships.
Well, her reality is I cheat, so he must cheat,
Mm.
projecting herself onto
Oh,
me.
completely.
And she's thinking, he is so sexual, he must be doing it with women all over the place. But I was only sexual with her, right? And the irony was, if you, I'm not sure I get into it too much in book one, but she wanted me to be with other women. She wanted to watch me with other
Yeah.
women.
And I
And I
thought this was
said,
actually one more way to control you, was to
yeah,
put you in these sexual situations which you would not have done otherwise, and as another way to entrap you after you did it. And so I was glad that you held your ground in a
yeah,
few instances and said, "I'm not into that. Like I just want to be with you. I don't want to be with the waitress,
right,
your friend's
yeah,
massage therapist, the girl from the store." Just
yeah. But she did. She
Mm.
wanted to do that because it was
She would have
exciting to her.
used it she would have held it
Oh,
against you.
100%. She wanted me to beat her.
Hmm.
And that would have been another thing over my head. Right? So I did have some boundaries, right? Not
Yeah,
very
no,
many, but
you actually did. You came back to that again and again. I'm
yeah,
not into group sex, and I was proud of you because God, that would have made things even so much worse for you.
no kidding. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I didn't even realize at the time how much power that would have been that she could have used against me.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't think that way. You don't think that way because that's not the kind of person we are, but that's how they are, right?
Hmm.
It's another way to manipulate, control the world,
Hmm.
which in their mind they think makes them safe, but it doesn't. It makes them more disconnected, right? So yeah, there's a lot of dynamics in the story, as there is in yours, right? A lot of things that happened. I will tell you where I am now with it. I'm grateful
Okay.
that, yeah. Would I go through it again? No.
Okay, okay, good. Because that's kind of where I felt like we were maybe we weren't on the same page because I wouldn't. I mean, the things I went through
Just your
were
face then. I would then.
no, I
Yeah.
I gave
No.
up years of my career. I would put myself in terrifying situations. I wouldn't go through it again. So thank you for admitting that because in the book you do sometimes say, like this wouldn't have happened if I had broken up with her in the beginning. And I was like, wow. Maybe this is like a male privilege thing that you can look back. That's what I thought. I mean, as a woman, I'm like,
Oh.
no, I wouldn't go through that again. But you're like, I did. There was
Yeah, because
excitement in my life, and
I wasn't there yet, Janice, right? I
okay,
wasn't
okay,
there yet,
totally
right?
fair, and that's why we're having these
Yeah.
chats, and that's why there's a second book. Everybody,
There's a
please go and
third
buy
book.
the
There's a
first
third
one.
book, Janice.
Mm.
Three books.
Yay! Okay, genuinely, I hope that you send it to me because I
Of
want
course.
to see what happens, and
Well,
yeah,
the second book has just come out, so I'll send you that so you can continue
I
the
would
story.
love it. I would love it.
Yeah. So, um, anyway, we probably shouldn't get too much into book three. Or we broke up for quite a while, and during that time, I met somebody else. on the other side of the world.
You guys, I'm getting hungry for this second book. I hope you
No,
are.
this is the third book. The second I don't meet her until the third
Girl,
book.
Steven, you are sucking us in for 3 books. Everyone, do it. Maybe we can come back and have a book club where everyone interviews Steven on the air.
Well, once you get the second book, I'll come back and we'll talk about that. And then
Okay.
I'm starting a podcast, so you're gonna have to come on my podcast. And this is a weird situation that I'm putting a book out there that really is for women. It's for women, right? To help them not get into these abusive relationships, even though it's written by a guy. But there are going to be women that will never buy that book and never read it
I
because it's written by
really
a guy.
appreciate you saying that because
How
the
could a guy
act
possibly
of
know what we women go through, right? So
Mhm.
and
Thank you.
how could
Mhm.
we know what men are going through, right? So this is,
Mhm.
but you writing a book for women is going to be so much more powerful.
Thank you. We'll see.
All right. Okay. All right.
One thing that we haven't talked about, which I also was something about you that intrigued me, was you support people to design better lives for themselves. And you do this through speaking, obviously through writing, through working one-on-one with people. And you're obviously successful at it. What did you think at the time, as far as maybe if you were compromising, some of your values? And then also maybe second to that, what would you tell someone who you're working with who found themselves in this situation?
That's a really good question. So here's the deal. The fact that I was I had a PhD in spiritual counseling.
Yeah.
I'd spent 20 years of my life going
Hmm.
through personal development. Part of that is what makes it so freaking funny, right? Because,
Or
if
or
I could,
a little bit more inexplicable, if you
all
will.
right, okay, funny, inexplicable, right? But it also says, look, if someone with that background can still get into one of these situations, then
Thank you. Yeah.
I shouldn't feel so bad about myself, right? That this can
Hmm.
happen to anybody, and there's no shame in it because people get to the point sometimes where they don't want to tell anybody because they feel ashamed, but there's no shame in it, you know?
Okay.
You're going to go through some things in life that maybe you wish you didn't, right? But maybe there are some takeaways. So I thought what you said was beautiful. Like, I won't want to go through it again. And if I'd have gone back, I probably wouldn't do it again. But I have taken, there were some gifts in there. There were
Hmm.
some things I learned about myself. But I did have emotional pain, as you read about in the book. When we broke up, it was really hard for me. But and I would break up with her all the time, right? But not because I really wanted to. What I was trying to do was set a boundary. I was trying to set a boundary, right? But it was very difficult because she didn't understand boundaries. She grew up in tremendous wealth. She could do whatever the hell she wanted. She never had to
Hmm.
worry about money. And then she's beautiful, so she could get men to do whatever the hell she wanted to do. But it was an unreal world that she lived in. And I was trying to bring some reality to her world and some consequences to behavior.
Oh my God.
It didn't work very well. But deep down, she respected that I did it,
Hmm.
that I would set boundaries, that I would leave her if she didn't behave, right? Remember when I go to Vegas, we go to Vegas and I leave her in Vegas?
The whole yes, there was some other incidents or when you took her on the cruise, and this
Mhm.
made me so sad because I had a similar experience when we went on this great vacation, and I thought everything was going to be wonderful, and it
Yeah,
doesn't matter the setting. These people will still seek to monopolize and gain control and ruin anything that's important to you.
I say
And
it
that's
all the
how
time.
I felt was there was times that we were doing something that I valued so heavily and just to see them come in and suck the life out of it and you guys ended up fighting for like the most of the cruise.
Mhm.
And that was just so sad for me because leading up to the cruise, you were like, I have a surprise for you and this is going to be really cool um and just to see it, all go to hell. I
Integrate, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was tragic too, but it was also freaking funny, right? When I look back on it, and
I didn't
and
laugh as much as
we go play
you're.
we go play poker, right? And she's
Mm,
already half gone, right? So, and she's just throwing her chips on there, right?
yeah.
Lost a lot of money, and I'm trying to get her to say, listen, this don't look gambling is not working too well, But then of course she gets defensive, so she storms off, and then I can't find her. So then I go back to the room, right? And you can turn the TV on and you can look at your bill, right? And the bill's going up and up and up.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's blowing the money. And then when she comes back and she calls me, I'm going, what am I going to say? I mean, if I get mad with her, she's going to do it more, right? And I'm stuck with her on this cruise for the next 7 days. So I didn't say anything. And then she says to me, Steve, I'm so sorry, honey, babe, because I know I'm not very good at gambling, but I was trying to win it all back for you.
Yeah.
But
The
I wasn't any good.
the logic. But you're an exceptionally intelligent man. So are you telling me and then we'll wrap up soon and leave some cliffhangers, I hope, for the next book.
Yeah.
Are you kind of saying that your, logic, intelligence, rational mind went out the window or you had to set it aside because you felt so physically trapped and overwhelmed.
Yeah. Well, I knew what she was doing, like in that example, right? I saw it, I knew it, but I just felt like, and I say this in the book a few times, I feel like I was getting into a straitjacket, or she was putting me in a straitjacket, and I was helping her buckle it up, right?
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
helping her to put me in that straitjacket, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, there was only myself to blame, right? I was
That
responsible.
is powerful and very real. And I'm impressed with you saying that. I did learn something about myself for sure. And also having to self-reflect, like why did I put up with this? Why did I allow this to happen? Why did I, see a red flag and then look the other way? So I did learn a lot about myself. I will say I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So and I hear what you're saying. I feel the same way. Because after all this happened, and I wanted to write the book, right? I'm in a relationship. How am I going to write a book like this and be in a relationship with a woman and her not be like, "What did you do? Who is this
Mhm.
woman?" It just didn't work. So I had to just make a decision, which again was a gift. I'm just going to be single. I'm not going to be in a relationship. I'm going to focus
Yay, you
on
need to
me,
go and
right?
look at more of my content because I am a big fan of the opportunity that being single provides us.
Yeah.
I was single for and didn't have sex for an undisclosed amount of
Well, for me, it's
time.
been 3 years, right? So 3 years.
Go you! That is awesome. That
Yeah,
is
I haven't
great.
gone on a dating site. I haven't, uh, and I'm very happy being alone.
Oh
I
my God,
love
it
being
is
alone.
so good.
Yeah, and to get to the point where I'm not saying I'm not going to get in a relationship at some point, but if I do, it'll be organic. It won't be on a website, right? And it will be a different kind of relationship now. I couldn't give up my freedom. I would
That's the
date.
same. I only meet people in person. I don't seek it out.
Right.
And it's how because the thing is when you are single for X amount of time or single to the point that you enjoy being single, you will walk away from bad situations so much easier because you know you are going to be okay. And therefore, the relationships you have are going to just naturally be so much healthier. And I really encourage anyone who can relate to this, set things down for a moment, go and learn about yourself. And that's the last question I wanted to ask you is I think that Tomas or your relationship with Tomas ended up kind of robbing you of your sense of self.
100%.
And
Yeah.
that was my take on it, especially,
Yeah.
as you kind of gave background and especially your business and how cool it was that you built this up from, from the ground up. What would you say to someone who finds themselves broken, or kind of lacking self-identity. Somewhat you have lost yourself in this relationship, as I did. How can someone rebuild their self-identity after something like this?
Hmm. Do you have any easy questions? So to answer your question is, and you know the answer, it's a process. It's not an overnight thing, right? Like you said, you have to refine yourself, reestablish what's important to you, the things you gave up, you sacrifice for that person. You've got to go back to that. And I would do that sometimes. We would break up for a couple of months or whatever, and I would go back to juicing, meditating, working out, and doing all the
Yeah.
things, the foundational things. But then when she would come back in my life, I'd let them all go out again, right? So,
You're like, let's
so
have amphetamines.
yeah, let's get back to the secretary. So anyway, what? Go work out or go in there? All right. So, um, but that's what it takes, and and realizing that that's never going to happen unless you can let them go. And you're going to be tested. I've been tested. I've met women exactly like Tamaz who would have done exactly the same thing, but I went, no, I'm not going back down that road. And then feeling good about that because you don't think I was I was lured by their sexuality and the idea that we could have gone, but I just said, that's not worth it.
Yeah, I will definitely say for anyone listening who relates, once you realize that you had allowed this, but then you practice not allowing it in the
Right.
future, you will
Yeah.
feel so emboldened.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And so much more confident, right? And reckoning and feeling that you started to rebuild your self-esteem. Now, it doesn't mean the work is done, right? Because you're going to be tested, right?
Oh,
So,
hmm.
point in case, I haven't spoken to Tamaz in 8 years, right? Guess what just happened?
She
She
found
found,
your number. She's
she found,
stalking you.
she found out about the book.
Oh my
She's been
God.
trying to reach me. She's been calling me.
Steven?
And guess what I've done? Nothing.
Oh, good. Okay.
I haven't responded. And if we now, so
Wow.
hold on a second. That doesn't mean I'm healed, right? Because the probability that she's going to find me is pretty high, right? And the biggest test is when I'm in the same, if it ever happens, I'm in the same room with her.
I
That's a
don't think it's
different
gonna
level.
happen, mate.
I don't know, mate. I like that. Yeah, mate.
Oh.
Good English term there. I haven't heard that since I was in
Oh,
the UK.
I lived in Australia for ages.
Ah, there you go, mate. All right. Chicken on the barbie. Yeah. Because if I do end up meeting her, it's just a test, right? What's going to happen? I feel confident, right?
That you're not
We
gonna be
won't know
going to the
until it
sex
happens.
shop to get sex toys on.
Well, we used to do that, right? We used to go there all the time and do that. And it was fun, but it's not, I no longer crave that or want that in my life, right? Um, so I mean, you don't know until it happens, but I believe I'm in a good place with that right now. I don't think I'm ever going to go back down that road again.
Well, and you resisted being in touch. So let's just briefly speak about that before we end for this episode, because I'm a big enthusiast and proponent of the no contact rule. I think that when you decide to walk away from something, at least during the healing period, that nothing good can come out of engaging with the person. I think it's very self-sabotaging to think that you can have, a different type of relationship or speak to them every day when you're trying to heal from, the breakup. So, can you maybe say what it was like for her to reach out to you, why you decided that you weren't going to engage, and then maybe what made you stay strong, and then we'll wrap
Okay,
up.
so yeah, I'm a 100% in agreement with you about you've got to disconnect at every
There's
conceivable
no
level.
other way.
Right. What happened is that I have a public website for the book.
Oh, I have exes get in touch with me, girl. It
So
happens to me
that's how
too. Hmm.
yeah, that's how she reached out to me.
Hmm.
I haven't responded, and I'm not going to respond to that, right? No, no intention of doing that whatsoever. But it was a potential hook that
Mm-hmm.
she reached out and she tried to
Mm-hmm.
reach me. My team told me, and
Oh my
um,
God.
I had no idea,
Wow.
right? I had no idea. So there was a little bit of a pull. Yeah, I could say hi. And I went, no, no connection, right? Because it's like being an alcoholic, you can never take one drink. You just
Mm-mm.
can't.
No.
You take
There
one
are
drink.
studies that show that we have the same types of chemical addictions to people as
Yeah,
drugs.
yeah, I agree.
Mm.
So I just can't go back there. And when I think about connecting with her, what it would mean, I just go, oh, no, I don't want that. I do not want that.
Steven, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm making progress. I'm not, I think it's a lifetime. We're all a lifetime project, right? You're never fully healed. There's always things to do,
Oh,
we can work on and be better at. But I do feel like I'm a lot further along, right? And I feel I
well, the
feel,
fact that you didn't respond,
yeah,
um, that is massive. That
yeah,
is massive. What would you give as a tip to someone who to stay strong and to resist? Because
mm,
when you get a text message from someone,
mm,
happy birthday, or I'm thinking about you, and you've had this previous connection, it is
mm,
very, very, very hard to resist
yeah,
texting back and putting yourself back in this cycle. So what's maybe one thing that worked for you to stay strong, to just say, not going to engage, moving on with my life?
yeah. Great question. So kind of like what happened for me, I saw that, and there was like, oh well, but then you go, well, where's that going to lead? What's the next thing that's going to happen? And then
Yes,
the next
but
thing,
we
where
can
is
see
this?
that. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, everybody just think a week from now, how am I going to feel if I respond to this message?
Exactly, right? And if I don't, how am I going to feel? I'm going to feel so
Yes.
good, right? I'm going to feel
Mm,
good about that I'm not in that same destructive mode where I will lose myself again. Because that, for all, when you talked about the pain, that to me is the most painful part when you lose sense of who you are, right?
mhm.
And
Yeah.
that person didn't take it from you. You gave it. You gave it away. Going through the experience, though, it gives you the ability to see where it is going to go.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see that before it had happened to you, right? Doesn't
Mm,
make what happened right, but it has given you something, that I'm sure you can see him in other men and go, you got no freaking way, right? There's no way, right?
mhm,
I'm not going through that again because you now have those insights. You know the
mhm.
thing, traits that they will do that mean you're not going to go down that road again, right? And since that happened, you've built your esteem to the point where it seems like you don't need a man. You might want a man, but you don't need a man, right? So the difference between the two.
It's a plus. It's a perk.
Well, here you go, right? So needing a man means you would be prepared to give yourself away again.
I don't.
Wanting to have a man is just natural, right?
Mm.
We want to have,
Companionship,
there
yes.
you go.
I mean, and like sex, is
Maybe a
something.
sex room or two,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Maybe
But
we
yeah.
can just come on and do an episode just titled The Sex Room because that
Okay, well,
impressed
we
me,
could, because
Stephen.
that's a very interesting subject.
See,
But I don't,
everybody, because we're not going to go into that now. Everybody has to now go and get the book so you can read about the sex room. Stephen, thank you so, 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 so much for even your work, as a public speaker, as someone who wants to help people, design optimal, thriving lives. That's a wonderful way to decide to spend your time and a wonderful selfless way to design a career around. And thank you for your honesty in this book. Wow. Everybody, the Venus Flytrap. It's we're kind of coming up on spring now. I have to say, I hope this is all right. It's a great beach read. This is a beach read if there's ever been one. Like,
Mhm.
really, you are going to devour it just like the Venus flytrap devours Stephen.
Almost, almost. I
But in a
did.
much healthier way. I'm a fan. Um I don't take all interviews that are presented to me. I'm very picky about who I have on the show. This book is awesome. This conversation has been awesome. Stephen, you are great. Thank you so much.
I feel the same way about you, and it's been a pleasure, and I've enjoyed every minute.
Whether you're watching this on Sex and the Solo Girl, thank you, rawr, for subscribing. If you're listening on Breakups, Broken Hearts, and Moving On, thank you. If you're going through a breakup right now, I'm sorry, and I'm sending you so much strength for the week ahead. Learn from my experience, learn from Steven's experience, and go out and create new and wonderful futures for yourself and others. Bye, everyone. Bye, Steven.
Right.